Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Once a DJ. If you'd like to support the show, then head to onceadj.com/support to find out how you can help. If you'd like to get in touch with any feedback or suggestions, email onceadjpodcast@gmail.com. Once a DJ is produced by the good people at Remote Control. If you'd like to find out more about working with them, head to remote-ctrl.co.uk. Time for the show.
Nice.
Welcome back, as always, to the Once a DJ podcast. I hope you're all well rested after Christmas and New Year, though by the time you're hearing this, you're probably ready for another break. I'm here today with former Kiss FM DJ, the man responsible for the legendary Pure Hip Hop Mix series, and now presenter of the Love Thing London podcast, the ever-busy, evergreen DJ Swerve. How are you doing today?
I'm alright. I've just finished I did one earlier. I did a boot camp at the gym. I started at the end of the year. I started doing some personal training, and then the personal trainer does like a group class, so I started doing that. It was vicious.
Do you like the accountability of group classes? Because I feel like if I go to the gym, I don't do anything half as hard as if I've got someone shouting at me or I'm in it with people.
Yeah, it got quite competitive at the end. There was a tug of war and on battle ropes, and my team won. It was 3v5 as well.
Nice.
I think I've found a superpower.
Beyond being a legend of radio?
Well, yeah. if that exists.
I don't know, 20 odd years in the game's not bad.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Turned up.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I'm quite excited to get into it and kind of understand the key to it, really.
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah, no problem.
So what was it in the first place where did you grow up, and what was it that first got you interested in DJing?
Well, I grew up in Bexley. We moved there from Ramsgate when I was around, I was trying to work it out, but it was first year of junior school actually. So it was quite a long time ago. And I remember coming back, seeing my grandparents, probably from the Midlands, funny enough, and on one of the BBC stations, they were talking about scratching and being this new hot thing from New York.
Mm.
And I think that was the first time I heard of it. And the next thing I remember was going around my friend Howard's house, because he had his own record player, which I didn't have. There was like a shared family one. So we could then sort of stuff about with just any random sort of records.
Was it? Yeah,
and
that's
just literally just doing jiggers and just like taking in turns. We were almost doing this sort of cipher of just baby scratches, just randomly during any kind of record, whether it was a Michael Jackson or like any pop record. It doesn't matter. It was the fact that you were just kind of just doing that baby scratch.
It's mad that scratching, because that was kind of similar for me. It was the first thing that I wanted to do. I remember being around at a mate's house and he just had a couple of sevens, and you were just going jigga. Like it was just, what was it about it that was just so simple but captivating?
Kind of primal, isn't it? It really is. It's like a primal instinct. You're kind of making, it's the closest you can get, I guess, to being a drummer without having a drum kit. So we didn't have drum kits. So especially if you catch like a kick drum or a snare, particularly, like that's quite powerful, particularly a kick. If you're scratching a kick, that's a powerful signal that you're putting out.
Yeah, definitely. So did you manage to kind of go on from there, or was it? Because I remember for me, that was something we did when we were 10 years old, and then I didn't get decks for another, 12 years or whatever. Were you able to kind of keep on?
I think kind of innovated. So we're doing pause tapes. That was a thing. And with the Paul Hardcastle record 19 came out with all the stutters on it. There's a couple of my friends were doing it. So you would literally do pause tapes where you'd have the record or a record, and then you would record it. This is just for people that don't know a pause tape, but it was just to make that 19, which you'd have been doing on a sampling keyboard, but clearly we didn't have that. So we would start doing cassettes, but literally only with one tape deck. So it was recording records and just putting them together. So you couldn't mix anything at that point. It was just one signal going in and what you could do with it. And then I found out on my parents' system. So it was a long system. So you had the stack systems that everybody talks about, but we had a long one. So the turntable was on the left. Then you had a tape deck in the middle. So it was kind of, I suppose you call it a console. It's almost looks like a mixing console, but with a turntable, radio and everything in. And I found that if I held down the tape button at the same time as I held down the phono button, the tape button, cancelled the phono. So you could start doing scratching without having to use the up and down volume control. And I had my headphones in. So we had a living room, dining room knock through, as you can probably imagine. So I'm in the dining room and my parents were watching television and they said it sounded like I was doing knitting because all you could hear was just the click, 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 click of the switches. And I was just merrily just doing that as a, I don't know, 11, 12-year-old kid, making slip mats out of like carrier bags and just stuff like that. Just doing what, I don't know. No, I don't know whether, I didn't copy anyone else as far as that went. That was just, you worked that out because you wanted to do a certain thing. Unfortunately, I mean, I'll tell you what, that was a belt drive turntable and I didn't trash the record player. You would have thought that belt would have gone or something, but no, it held. I can't remember whether it was a Toshiba or a Hitachi or something, but it was decent. But yeah, luckily. And then later on I think I worked away. I don't know how I worked it out. There was a way of getting a second signal going in, plugging another turntable in. That was a click. That was a kind of a bit of a breakthrough because my friend James, his dad, sold me a turntable, an amp, and something else, and it was like it had wood paneling on, and somehow I managed to integrate that. So then I could scratch on that while another beat was playing on the main turntable. I don't know how I worked that out, but it must have been a mic. Somehow there was a mic input, and then there was a way of I got the right connection because my dad was into electronics,
right,
for a profession, so he would have known that how to do that. That's how that started. And then I got my first mixer, I think it was a realistic mixer, so one of the big ones with the graphic equalizer. We got that from Edgware Road one Christmas, so that was pretty key. I wish I still had that. So I had that, and then I started making my friends mixtapes for Christmas. Like one Christmas, I decided I would do a Prince one for one of my friends that really liked Prince, because then I could start doing mixes together with the equipment that I had at that point.
So would you say like the sort of R&B was quite a big thing early on for you then?
No. The first music I was into was like 80s UK pop. So I was like into Duran Duran, Adam and the Ants, that kind of thing. And then my friend Neil came round and he had Planet Rock on cassette and he played it to me. And I don't know, it wasn't a life-changing moment when I heard that. The life-changing moment was hearing Double D and Steinsky, The Lessons, and not having a clue what was going on. Because some of those records, I didn't know that they were different records. I knew some of them, and I knew some of them were like, obviously, clearly cuts from TV shows or just excerpts from films or whatever. So I knew something was going on, but I was like, what is this? This is amazing. I just remember thinking to myself, I've got no idea when one record finishes and the other one starts. It's just all this mashup. So that was probably the key. That was the key record for me.
I guess like if you'd been doing pause tape stuff, then that would blow your mind. Like if you'd had an 808 or something like that, and then you heard Planet Rock, maybe be like, oh my God. But I guess with that, I listen when I listen to music, a lot of what I do is like I'm just deconstructing and analysing, not deliberately.
Yeah.
But just because I enjoy making it myself and I enjoy sampling, I'm like listening to samples, listening to chops and trying to work out, particularly when it's something you recognise, it's like trying to work out where it's pulled from. So I think if you're just like, I kind of get it, but I don't, like it is going to blow your mind a bit, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So was that like a gateway into hip hop and stuff then?
Yes. I mean, my first love was definitely hip hop. My friends were very much into soul music, and I didn't really like soul music at the time.
Right.
Because I wanted, like, hip hop was super powerful. It was a completely different vibe, obviously, to like soul music.
Yeah, and I guess you talk like Run DMC and stuff like that, because that's like hard as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it was probably then. It was Public Enemy, LL Cool J. So it was definitely the Def Jam years for me, particularly. Like LL Cool J is my favorite rapper of all time.
Yeah,
Public Enemy's got, I mean, production wise and like the whole package. Public Enemy are just this musical anomaly that's just incredible. Just everything about it.
Yeah,
is just, I could just go on for hours about that and the impact they had on, like a white suburban kid was just nuts.
It must have been crazy being in that world as well, where they were one of those acts that were just global, like rap went global for a few acts, didn't it? It wasn't like everyone. Yeah. So it must have been a crazy time.
And also the education and the message that they were putting across. I mean, it was a pro-black message, and it was received by open-minded people of all races. You can't. There's only a few people that are even attempting to do it. I mean, Kendrick's probably the greatest example that I can think of off the top. But for them to do it, I mean, gosh, think about it. They had the security of the First World. They were doing military dances. Sister Soldier coming in. I mean, crikey, it was quite something.
Yeah. It kind of had that visual aspect as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So they played a role in my music development. I just loved how hip hop was so hard hitting, and soul music at that time for me wasn't what I wanted to hear. I suppose you're in that passionate, very, very passionate, focused. And I used to do mixtapes for parties. So I used to put all this time and effort into these mixtapes for parties. So when we were having house parties, when we were in sort of 16, 17, and so that would get put on. And then I just remember how annoyed and disappointed I'd be when someone would take it off and put something else on. Because I'd spent ages, and I'd think about what would go. I'm basically planning a DJ set.
It's quite nice though, because it kind of like puts you in good stead for like, 10 years later or whatever, and you're DJing and someone goes, have you got anything good?
Yeah, something we can dance to. Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
So when did you start gigging out then?
So I, interestingly, had my Kangol stolen after a gig in Hammersmith. There was under 18s gigging Hammersmith, and we were getting some food afterwards, and then these kids came in and they just they like snatched my hat, my red Kangol, my red LL Cool J Kangol, and then they disappeared down the road with it. I think it was my red one. I had a couple. I had a black one and a red one. And so after a split second, me and my friends were like, no, we're not having that. So we ran after them. And then when we were running after them, they dropped it. And then a group of guys picked them up and I got to know Phil C, Muzzy, and Bucks. They were like a crew from Guildford, and Phil had a show on Starpoint FM. So we became good friends. And I think the first party I did was in sort of collaboration with Phil. He brought the sound system over. Can't quite remember how we worked it, but we were doing them in like local scout halls. We weren't even doing it for money. I'd never really made any money off them. It was just, I think it was a good opportunity to go out and start playing.
Mm.
So it was just like local. It was just literally our own events.
So with him being a radio DJ then, did he have a mic with him? Did he use a mic as part of his performance?
Yeah, he did. I mean, you wouldn't catch me anywhere near a microphone. I just remember I did someone's party at a golf club and I had to make an announcement that the bar was closing, and I did it sitting down on some crates like behind the turntables. I wasn't going to stand up and let anyone see me. It took some convincing, because to like jump forward, when I went to do my Kiss demos, I certainly wasn't expecting to do much talking. That soon changed. I was told that wasn't going to happen, but I was a jump forward. But yeah, I had no desire to have my voice to be heard at all.
Yeah. So what age would you have been when you started playing out?
Probably. I mean, those kind of parties, probably 16, 17.
Yeah. So it's quite a good age to be going out and doing it then, isn't it? Was there a lot of like lugging equipment around and stuff then?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do the parties a lot. They were only sort of maybe a couple of times a year or something, and then carrying the records around. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was a long rectangular scout hall, and the only lights we had were these two kind of white scanners. So it was rammed out, and it was like, yeah, it was proper. It was serious. It was a serious rave. Like the music and everything wasn't sugar coated or anything. It was just like pretty basic. But I like that. I wish we had some. We do have photos, but I wish there was some sort of video or something of it, because it was quite a thing. Because the room was like pretty much like pretty dark, and then you just have these scanners were just kind of going across this dark scat hall with all the lights off.
I don't want to sound really old, but I'm gonna anyway. I just think there's something nice about when you're younger and you had just like, say, like a small crate of records, like your starter pack or whatever.
Yeah.
Just a pair of turntables and a mixer. It's like, something like that, simple lighting, and you just go in for it, and you don't have the opportunity to overthink things because you've not learned enough to stress out yet.
Yeah.
It's a shame to not get back to that.
No, definitely. I mean, less is more with everything. Production, DJing, all of it. It's the simplicities. The beauty is in the simplicity.
Yeah, I've got into this like paralysis stage now. Where I'm like, I don't even know if I know what makes a decent song. I couldn't even tell you that now.
No, I mean, I've had that. I'm getting back into doing some production now. But yeah, I've gone through many stages of that.
Yeah. So what was the next step up in the DJ career then?
We're going back a little bit, but it was getting a summer job, getting enough money together, possibly for a turntable, which I got. And then my dad went out. He went to Red Hill when I was working at Sainsbury's, when I was at school. And he went to Red Hill and he got me 2 1210s and Autofun cartridges. I'd already got the mixer, so it must have still been the realistic mixer. And I just remember getting home and that was for getting good GCSEs. It was a big deal, because I mean, those things are, even then they were expensive. They were like 300 quid each back then. So that would have been like mid to late 80s. So that's not cheap.
Yeah, and Autofons as well. Did you bypass Stanton's?
Yeah, I think he got a deal with Autofons. Excuse me. I just remember just turning the lights on, turning the decks on, and just seeing like the red light, seeing the deck light and the green light come on, and it's pretty magical.
Yeah.
So I did that. So I was doing a lot at home, a lot of practice, wrecking records, just having fun. So I was trying to think. I think the next step for me was, so I started doing some stuff with Bucks. So the guys from Guildford. So they were really like my main kind of hip hop buds in terms of like doing stuff and sort of going out and, well, more Phil was doing the radio. I'd go and hang with them. There was a time where we were going to do some music together, but I started DJing for Bucks. He was doing some PAs at some local stuff. And I'd do a bit of a showcase while he was doing his rhymes. And then...
So like turntablism sort of showcase.
Yeah. So I was doing just cutting up some stuff, doing some doubles of whatever a big record was at the time. And then I decided I was going to enter the DMC, which would have been when I was in my first year of uni. The DMC came around and I figured that was probably the 1 year that I could really kind of go for it, because it's not like the busiest year in terms of like exams and work and stuff. So I went for it. It was at Romford. So I made the finals of the London and South East heat and really, enjoyed that. And then the night time was just, oh my gosh, this is serious now. When in the afternoon, there was like, I don't know, 40, 50 DJs, made it through to like the top 10. And then I just remember being up in the VIP area. There was a well-known glamour model, Maria Whittaker at the time. I think she was sat on a sofa where I was, and I was just sat there and I was just like hugging my records. My friend Ian was with me. He drove me and he was going to hand me my records. And yeah, I went and did it. I had some technical problems, and this is where the inexperience came. So the guy that was before, the DJ that was before me, had adjusted the height of the arms and stuff,
right,
which I hadn't factored in. So I had tape. My records were taped, so you would put the needle on the record, it would hit the tape, and then as you slowly rotated it, it would knock it into the exact groove that you wanted for whatever you wanted to do. And so those had gone completely wrong. I think the arm was too low, so it might have been the autophons again. It was just catching the sticker and it was knocking it on like 2 grooves too many. But luckily I had my headphones, so in the end I got to a point when one record I just thought, this is silly. I just pulled both like tabs off and just went like normally. So I was quite pleased how like that went. But I also saw the ones that I think I came fourth, right? I didn't come fourth, but I thought I'd come fourth. I felt I was definitely better than the fourth. But 1, 2, and 3 were just different. It was just they were like showing out. They were performing to the crowd, where I was doing technical stuff that was good. They were doing stuff like that, possibly technically better, but also engaging with the crowd. And generally with me when I'm DJing, even to this point, I see myself as behind the decks. I'm providing the vibes for people out there. I mean, I do a bit, but I'll connect with the crowd, but I'm not like this huge showman that will be standing up on the turntables and like stage diving or doing whatever, doing a dance routine or whatever. And that's fine, but you can't get me to do that. I mean, it's just not going to work.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying One to DJ. I wanted to create a product for the listeners to be able to support the show and for the guests as a token of gratitude for being on. So I've teamed up with Sure Shot Shop to create some One to DJ 45 RPM adapter clamps. These are my weapon of choice as a 45 adapter, as they add stability and grip to aid you in any setup. These are available for £25 each plus flat fee postage from onetodj.bigcartel.com. And if you'd like to see the other models you can buy and also customise, check out sureshotshop.com. If you're an avid collector of timeless music on vinyl, but don't have the budget to fork out for those pricey originals, then look no further than Be With Records. From library music to yacht rock, jazz, hip-hop, disco and beyond, Be With lovingly reissue some of the coolest classics. All of their records are carefully remastered and cut to the highest standards to make sure the pressings are of peak audio quality and do justice to the music being released. And something else to note is that they don't do limited runs to drive up resale and hype. If the demand is there, they'll repress, as the focus is the music, not the profit margin. They have flat rate shipping and free UK shipping on orders over £60. And if you head to bewithrecords.com and use the discount code ONCEADJ, all one word, you'll get 10% off your order. So head to bewithrecords.com and level up those crates today. It's two very different sides of DJing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's a side I've never been comfortable with. Was there anyone in that DMC that is kind of a regular, like in that top three, any of the people who've kind of had a pretty good sort of run at it?
I'm gonna struggle. Put it this way: it wasn't like a crime. It wasn't a Prime Cuts or a Mr. Thing or anything like that. Like it wasn't people operating at that level. But they were good though. They were good, and I knew. I thought, look, this was my year to do it. I kind of achieved my goal, which was I wanted to make it to the night time. My friends come down. My friends could come down and see me do my thing, and I'm like, you know what? I get it. Do you know what I mean? But I think also that was probably going to be your toughest crowd you're ever going to have, really.
Yeah.
Because they're not there to dance. They're there to literally stand there and watch you, and you'll be like, right, okay, impress me.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of get that a bit sometimes with some crowds, but not to that extent where everyone is pretty much, right, okay, let's see what you've got. And to do that early, it did mean, I did tell myself a few times if I was nervous before doing a set at some of the bigger clubs, it's like, well, look, you've done DMC.
Yeah, and I think probably in that sort of era, I don't know what it's like now for competitors, but I did it a couple of times. And one year, in the daytime, there was like 30 people in the heat.
Yeah.
And then the next year when I did it, or the year after, I can't remember which it was, there was like 6 people and I just got through to the night by default.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I should have kept going.
Yeah. If you'd have kept going till, I think it was about 2000 and, I want to say 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have come up to Nottingham. Easy.
You know what did happen? It did get political, and I think it happened in a lot of the competitions. Some of the DJs wouldn't go to their local one. They would go to what they would consider an easier route into. And I remember reading in some of the write-ups that, like, when they knew that was happening, it would be a real kind of disrespect. Say if someone from London came up to Nottingham because they thought that would be an easy route into the final because they didn't want to battle, they would get booed. And like, yeah, that wasn't the one. That wasn't the one.
Yeah, because the year that I did where it was really busy was, I think it was the last heat of the year.
Okay, yeah. So people would keep coming around. Yeah, I mean, yeah, people would also do that. They wouldn't just choose that as their one. They would be like, this is the last chance saloon. So
yeah, because I think you were allowed to enter 2, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, placing, that's impressive.
So there was the DMC. Oh yeah, so then I'd met a couple of guys at a party. I went to this party with my friend Glenn, who had this incredible pink Volkswagen Beetle that was a bit beaten up, but Glenn was our designated driver to go to all of these raves. Like in Redhill, there was a Grasshopper. There was a Slammer in Gravesend, which was really like the spot for me in terms of going out clubbing and raving and seeing DJs play. I at this point, I wouldn't consider myself a DJ. I could DJ, but I wasn't doing a lot of events outside of things I was doing myself. So it wasn't like, oh, I've got to DJ. I was kind of dancing. So they met me at this party out in the country somewhere, one of these random ones, and we just sort of got on. We started going out, and we went out as a 3. And sometimes I go out with Glenn, sometimes I go out with Peter and D. And then I started DJing with D. We started Vinyl Impact Productions, so that was VIP sound, and we'd go out and do some student raves. We had friends, like my girlfriend at the time was at Birmingham Uni, so we would do some sets for the Asian Society, and then we do some stuff around Kingston, which is where D was based. So that was the next stage. So then I'd start doing sort of private, I guess you'd think like private booking, so outside of my own. So that was like the next step.
So you were playing, so you were gigging sort of rave or hardcore or something then?
No. DJing hip hop,
right,
reggae, jungle. D kind of specialized a bit more in. So it was like a black music open format.
Right.
Really was what we were doing there. So we were kind of operating a bit like a sound system without the sound system. So we would go out and do those. I'm then trying to think where we go from there. Yeah, and then I think I was just out raving one time locally in Bexley Heath, and the DJ that was booked on a Sunday night for a soul night was just playing too old for the crowd. And so I decided at the end of the night, being slightly outraged by this, I just thought, you know what, I could do this, right? So I went up and I met Wendy, the manager, afterwards, and just asked, look, who does the bookings for this? And she said it was this guy, you got to talk to Muzzy. So I got in touch with Muzzy, and he was definitely one of the most influential people in helping me get on, really, because he gave me a chance. I was covering for him there when he was coming back from Southport. So he was doing the Southport weekend. He couldn't do the Sunday because he was traveling back. So I would do it. I think maybe the first one, myself and Dee did it. And then he said, oh, you know, he got good feedback from me doing that. He probably would have come back and then heard me finishing off the night or whatever. So then he got me into 8090, where he was also resident. And that was where Dave Morrison heard me and Clive Johns. And then Dave Morrison asked me to play again. He booked me sort of outside of what Muzzy had brought me in to do. And then Dave put together the Starlight Crew, which was a group of MCs and DJs. Dave's concept was to do that. And the 8090 with the Starlight Crew, that was a Kiss night. So that was where the Kiss connection began from there. So it's all very convoluted, but, you know, you could argue if I hadn't gone up and had that conversation complaining about why is this DJ playing this? I can do better than that. If I hadn't have done that, there's a lot of things. And I met my wife at 8090 as well. So it's mad when you actually look at your life and how things, you know, like the branch.
That kind of sliding doors moment, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Because, I listened to that episode of Love Thing London that you did with Dave and Clive on. That was really interesting.
Available on Spotify. Yes.
Yeah. Great. Spotify exclusive.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Spotify.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting hearing you guys talk on that about the times. Is it Corks?
Yes.
Yeah. And something that was really nice in that was hearing you guys talk about someone else's mix technique, where we talked about how, I can't remember who the guy was, like to talk about how they used to like just sort of punch something in. And
yeah.
And it's nice. Like I was thinking with this, I've not talked to people a lot about other DJs that they've learned a lot from. So like when sort of mid 2000s, I'd hang out with DJ Angelo quite a bit, and we'd sit and watch DMC vids, we'd jam with each other, learn off each other. And that was where I learned a lot. I always try and tell people I'm his kind of mentor, but let's be honest, nah. But yeah, it was a really kind of fertile time then when you know, you've not got many responsibilities, and it was nice that. I mean, was there other people sort of around at that time that you were learning different things from?
Yeah, I mean, DJ Swing would always get brought up in conversation. He was a very technical, incredibly charismatic. He could just get away with stuff that nobody else could. Like, I remember hearing a story of, there was a time where him and MC Special K, they were doing a uni gig and people weren't reacting. So I think they just stopped the music and they both went to the bar to get a packet of crisps and a drink. So they got served and then came back, and then Special K got on the mic and just said, right, you ready now then? Because you weren't ready before, and stuff like that. Or Swing was asking, there were a couple of girls that stopped dancing on the dance floor at Hanover Grand. And he actually asked them why they'd stopped dancing and why they were going to leave. Because it's a new tune and you haven't heard it before. So he would have, there's no way in a million years I'd have the confidence to do that.
Yeah.
Even though you might think it. So, I mean, Swing was incredibly technical. I always enjoyed listening to Shorty Blitz play. Fat Freddie M, another influence on me. I used to love how he played. He would play a very aggressive set. So I'm sure he was at Soul Survivors at the Starlight Club in Paddington, and he started with just like bashment tunes, the first 3 or 4 tunes, and he just turned the place upside down by playing a different genre, like almost breaking the rules, really. And so there'd be things like that I'd hear and I'd think, oh, okay. I definitely listened to Jazzy B on Kiss because his show was an eclectic one, but he would always play some reggae bashment tunes during his set. So I'd know that those ones were the key ones. So I'd pay attention to those and I'd be thinking, right, okay, do I like these ones? Because these ones are obviously the big ones. So those are the kind of people I would listen to. I mean, growing up, Mike Allen was definitely, he was the first radio DJ that I would say I was like a fan of.
Yeah. Because
of his music, doing the Capital Rap Show, staying up late, listening, in bed with an earpiece in, how important the Groove Electro chart was. So there've been lots of influences. I mean, Cash Money, DJ Scratch, Jazzy Jeff, Cuba, just fascinated by Pete Rock. Some of the just the techniques, some of the techniques that these DJs were performing. I absolutely shredded my copy of the Symphony, Marley Marl and Juice Crew Symphony, for the Rampage line that Called You Rap says, because that's what he cuts on EPMD's Rampage, and I was trying to replicate it because I didn't have anyone particularly that I was training with. So a lot of it was I was having to try and work it out myself, either watching DMC videos or just listening to the records, and I would like slow the record down to try and see if I could translate. And the actual Rampage scratch that I wanted to get was easier than I thought, but I just didn't understand it. But the execution that Scratch did it with made it sound even harder and even better than what it was, just because his execution is just A1.
Yeah. Yeah, some of these guys, they're just ridiculous. It's like with Cuba, you see what he was doing in like 1991.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always a fan of the Scratch Perverts as well. Prime Cuts, I think, has done one of the best, probably my favourite hip hop compilation, mix compilation he did. I think it was Hip Hop Don't Stop. It's just an absolute masterclass. His one was just, that one was just incredible. And Mr. Thing, I think, is just the funkiest juggler like ever. His Tribe, his Easy Up, Easy Back It Up, that one, he did one DMC. I remember just being in the crowd of DMC and it was all a bit robotic and a bit like, let's just smash out as quick as possible what I'm going to do, which is fine. But after a while, it just gets a bit relentless. And then Mr. Thing just comes on and just gives it some funk. And I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, I can be here all day for that.
Yeah, I think he really plays in the pocket, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Everything's funky.
It's music. Yeah, it's musical. It's musical.
Yeah, like something I struggle to watch with DMC sets, and I'm as guilty as anyone from this, when you would scratch in front of anyone, is just trying to do your fastest, tightest combos rather than just doing something funky.
Yeah, exactly. And just keep going. And it's not quite fast enough. We're not quite tight enough. I'm just going to keep going, head down. Yeah, I mean, I've listened back to some of my old mixtapes, and there are some of my old mixtapes. I'm like, why am I still scratching?
Yeah.
Like one record. I mean, it's a nice mix, but I was like, I've definitely scratched for the half of this record. I've just done hoo-ha for like the whole of this record.
Yeah, you've forgotten that there's a new verse coming or something. 16 bars, like, oh,
I
brilliant, it's
didn't
another
care,
chorus.
mate. I just steamroller through it. But there we go.
So was it shortly after joining that crew that you got into Kiss, or was that a bit further down the line?
Oh, but again, it was relatively quickly, yeah. Because Dave Morrison was pitching to Kiss to have a Starlight Crew show. But they'd already got Firing Squad on, so they weren't really going to be open to doing another crew. So I have two different crews on, which I kind of get. So I'd just done the shout out to Jamie Topham at BMG, by the way. So there was a mixtape that Sony BMG did twice a year as a cassette. And it was a big one to get on because they would produce thousands of these, I would imagine. And then they would distribute them at Southport and other events. So DJs wanted to get on those. And I started seeing Jamie at events. So I met him. I guess I was getting my hustle on really. And I just said, look, when am I going to do one of these? You know, I knew I could do it. When am I going to do one of these? So I think I did volume 3. I either did volume 3 or volume 4. I think it was 3. Shorty did one. I think there was an Irish DJ Mech did one, and then I did the next one. But it was a really big look. And then when they were pitching, so when Dave was pitching the show, there was also Karen and Patrick Tustian at Kiss Clubs. They were very much advocating for me to get a show. So there was a lot of campaigning that was being done like on my behalf, and it certainly takes that. You need people that believe in you. It's really important. Not to say it's impossible without, but I mean, to go and to get on Kiss at that time, I remember Patrick, when I got the call, I know I'm jumping forward a little bit, but I remember speaking to Patrick about it after I'd had the call to come in, and I think when I got the show, not even to do the demos, and he just said, well, that's your life changed now.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite believe him at the time, but he was absolutely right. It's a life-changing opportunity. So yeah, I got a call from Andy Roberts to come in and to do some demos. So I thought that would be interesting. So I went in and met Melissa Johnson, who I've told her was incredibly scary. Because I was like, okay, I went in and I saw her. This is when Kiss was in Holloway Road. So she was like, okay, so what are we doing today then? And I said, I'm just going to come in and do a mix. And then there we go. She says, no, we're not doing that. So he was like, right, you're presenting the show. So you're going to put a record on. You're going to then talk between. I was like, what, talking? She was like, yeah, that's what you're going to do. So then there was the process of learning how to do that. And learning, I suppose, in your head while you're talking, counting bars, because generally there'll be a 4-bar intro or an 8-bar intro. Never talk over the vocal. That was just like cardinal sin. It just doesn't sound good anyway. I mean, obviously, when you're coming back out of a tune, it's different, but certainly don't talk over the first part of a tune. And then learning to fire the IDs or the jingles, as you call them. And so I did that. I did maybe 3 or 4 of those. And then, Andy gave me a call and said, you'd like you to do I think it was Monday night, 2 till 4 a.m.
How did you feel after you'd done those demos? Like in terms of your performance, did you feel like I've got this, or was it like...
I've never really been an I've got this kind of person. And I think that's it's a nightmare mentally. But it kind of does keep you kind of on your toes.
Yeah.
So I just thought, you know what? Yeah, I kind of got used to it. It took me a while to find my voice when I'm talking, because it sounds weird, but to start off with, I was just doing impersonations of or versions of the DJs that you would listen to, which was that's not going to work. That's just not going to cut it.
Finding your voice is kind of about knowing yourself, isn't it? And understanding who you are and like not trying to be someone else.
Well, it's not, for me, it was more the delivery. It was more the delivery.
Right.
And not trying to imitate famous DJs' deliveries, but not doing it as well as them because you're not them. So I think all I tended to do, I think I just pushed I found there was a way of just pushing the air out a bit harder than I would do if I was talking normally. And I mean, my voice has definitely changed over the years, I think, as everyone's does, which sounds hilarious. I've heard there was one where I was in with Matt White, and Matt was introducing me as taking over a slot because he was moving to Sundays. His Sunday show was like classic. So he moved to doing Sundays, and then I took one of the evening slots that he was doing. And I just remember hearing myself on that, and I'm just like, I barely recognise the voice. It was like proper.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying Once a DJ. I wanted to create a product for the listeners to be able to support the show, and for the guests as a token of gratitude for being on. So I've teamed up with Sure Shot Shop to create some Once a DJ 45 RPM adapter clamps. These are my weapon of choice as a 45 adapter, as they add stability and grip to aid you in any setup. These are available for £25 each plus flat fee postage from onceadj.bigcartel.com. And if you'd like to see the other models you can buy and also customise, check out sureshotshop.com. If you're an avid collector of timeless music on vinyl but don't have the budget to fork out for those pricey originals, then look no further than Be With Records. From library music to yacht rock, jazz, hip hop, disco and beyond, Be With lovingly reissue some of the coolest classics. All of their records are carefully remastered and cut to the highest standards to make sure the pressings are of peak audio quality and do justice to the music being released. And something else to note is that they don't do limited runs to drive up resale and hype. If the demand is there, they'll repress, as the focus is the music, not the profit margin. They have flat rate shipping and free UK shipping on orders over £60. And if you head to bewithrecords.com and use the discount code ONCEADJ, all one word, you'll get 10% off your order. So head to bewithrecords.com and level up those crates today. Did you have a job before you did Kiss? Did you have like a day job or?
Yeah. I was working in Chancery Lane. I was working as a hotel and leisure consultant. So they were doing financial feasibility studies for hotels. Office
hours then?
Yeah. So I was doing a few gigs before that, and when I had the Kiss show, when I was doing the 2 till 4, I would go and do that. I would after work, so I'd be wearing my work suit. I'd have my Technics satchel, because one of those flap satchel bags that we used to have back then. And I used to just take my records in my playlist that I'd printed out, and I'd just go in and do the show in my suit.
As a pre-record then?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right, I was going to say. Because, getting in to do a 2 till 4 is going to be rough.
Yeah.
So how long were you doing the two things? Was there a major sort of thing that made you think, I've got to ditch the day job?
Yeah, so, the company was struggling a little bit, and they wanted to make me voluntarily redundant. So I was offered that. And that was kind of the push that I needed, really. Because I was doing DJ gigs as well at the time. Not like to the extent I was later, but it was like, right, okay, I'm going to do DJing for a bit then. Might as well. So I started doing that.
So with the mic work, I'm absolutely fascinated with this, in case you can't tell.
Yeah.
Like with the mic work, if you've had a bad day, or you're just feeling low energy, like, is there a way that you would kind of get yourself into a certain zone so that you could just execute as per normal?
I'll be honest, if you're doing live radio, particularly at that time, and you can't get up for that, I think you're in the wrong job. Because that was prime, particularly prime R&B time for the late 90s. So I started in, I guess, almost around the 2000. So if you think about the records that were out, I mean, then I was always on the jiggier side of hip hop anyway.
Right.
And the R&B that was coming out, you're hitting prime Timbaland, prime Neptunes. You've got Redman coming through. You've got like cuts like Nori. Like, you can't not get up for that. I mean, that is exciting. And for people, you can see people texting. Yeah, there's just a buzz. There was just a buzz about it and doing it live, you know, driving in, doing the show, might have a friend or two with me. Who's coming in might have guests and stuff. I mean, that's just different. That was just different then. There was a buzz. And
so, sorry, what time was the live show? Sorry.
So they varied, but I think mainly 10 till 12. They might have gone slightly earlier, but it was around, 10 till midnight. And there were lots of people would listen.
Yeah.
Lots were listening at that time. That was the time.
And that, I think Kiss as a brand was pretty big then, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's still big. It's just kind of changed in terms of, I guess, the music offering, but I mean, it kind of has to do that. But I mean, then it was just like, it was absolute, pretty much boss.
Yeah.
In terms of like R&B and hip hop music, there wasn't really much messing with it. Because One Extra came in, and One Extra were doing their thing as well. One Extra was smacking it. But I think in terms of the branding and how everything was set up, the reputation, the perception of the brand, it was the perfect time for me. It just fitted. It just fit so well for me.
Yeah. And from there then, you started going out touring with Kiss, right?
Yeah, the other thing that was quite key was, you can almost see them behind me, were the pure hip hop albums.
Yeah.
So I got a call about those while I was still doing the Monday 2 till 4.
Right.
So the pure hip hop albums came out. So I was actually doing tours with those as well, sort of like launch parties.
Oh, like
so
separately.
There was that as well. So yeah, there would be Kiss bookings. There would be, I guess, like private individual ones, and then there would be kind of launches for those. Those two in particular were very significant, the Pure Hip Hop and the Pure Hip Hop 2003.
Were they decent money makers?
What, doing the compilations?
Yeah, doing the compilations.
Compilations, not really, but you've got to see the bigger picture. Directly, no, but indirectly, yes. Because I know I would get work off the back. I mean, I definitely got a monthly residency at this bar in Southport based on the fact that Sinclair, excuse me, at the time, had picked up the CD, found my website that was listed in there, and I ended up doing, maybe close to a year going up there, so yeah, I mean, with most of these things, you do have to look at the bigger picture. And, I've got those on the wall.
Yeah.
I had a run of doing a lot of compilations.
So they're golds, right?
Well, yeah, one's silver. 60,000? 60,000, is that silver? One was 60,000, and then the other one was 100,000. And then there's a hip hop collection. Kiss presents a hip hop collection. That's 100. So I think that might be silver. The first one was silver, and then the other two were gold with 100,000.
It's not bad as silver and a couple of gold records, really.
No, I mean, those are the ones that mean the most to me.
Yeah.
Oh, there was another one. There was the Urban Kiss one, which
I think that's the one where you did one disc and someone else did the other, isn't it? I've literally been looking at that earlier.
yeah, that was 100,000 as well.
Wow.
So that was me on one side and then More Fire Crew on the other.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got to meet a really good friend there. There was Alan Morsley, who was the engineer, and he engineered, I think, all of those mixes. He's fantastic. He was the engineer for Roots Maneuver, Witness. He was sound engineer for that. But
right,
he was really, really good. We'd do them one track at a time. He'd engineer and like re-EQ every track when it was going in. We would discuss whether we thought that was good enough. The number of times, no, you can do better than that, mate. After we knew each other, he was like, no, you can do better than that. We'd do another take. I mean, I will listen to them again. I've rarely listened. I haven't listened to them in years. I wouldn't, the pure hip hop one was just amazing because I just started going. I suppose, being a sort of professional full-time DJ. So there was definitely the novelty in having a car pick you up, take you to a recording studio, spend all day in the recording studio, and then, meet MJ Cole, meet Grant Nelson, and the other guys, people that were just passing through the studio, and it was just like, oh wow, this is just like the coolest thing, right? You feel like you're fully in there. And I remember it was a long process. We were there for 2 or 3 days doing it, and things would get cleared and not cleared. So you'd do a mix and then they'd say, oh no, we're going to use this instead. So then we'd have to go back and then look at how that record was integrated and then reintegrate the new one. I remember running off to get a Talib Kweli tune because I hadn't got it with me and they just added it for some reason. It might have been one of those ones where the other one hadn't got cleared. We had to replace it, or they wanted this one in. There's a lot of politics in that compilation game because my one was with Warner's and Shorty did one the same time for Sony. So I don't know who found out who was doing which, and then it became an arms race as to who could get what out fastest. Literally, they were to go head to head.
Yeah.
Because whoever started it first, and I don't really know who did it first, they would have asked permission from the other record label to clear
certain songs for it.
From the other category, from the other like catalog, and then you'd ask, "Oh, what's it for?" Be a hip hop compilation. They'd be like, "Right, everyone, we're going to do a hip hop compilation. Let's go." So I got that was a great. That was a great, very great opportunity for me. It was huge.
Would they have certain things where it's like, right, we want you to use this percentage of tunes from our label or anything like that, or specific tunes from there?
Kind of, yeah. I did have some say so on tunes. Yeah, I remember now. Luckily with Warner's it was great because it was Electra, so you can think Brand Nubian, Leaders of the New School, all that. You could put a wants list through, but then they would also want a big commercial one that they would want on, so it would just have to go on. I remember on one of them there was an Eminem tune that they wanted on, and it wouldn't necessarily have been one that I would have, it wouldn't have been the Eminem tune that I would have chosen, but because it was the new single and that would possibly drive the album sale, they would want that on. So I remember thinking, oh man, okay, right, we'll work a way of getting this in. So it's not just your own choice. But I remember I did have a good choice of tunes. Like a lot of them that I wanted on got on.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
And then the next thing I wanted to talk about, our friend Rob Percy said that I should ask you if there's any good sort of stories from those road trips that you would be doing.
Oh man, what the weekend that we can talk about?
Yeah, I guess that's the tricky bit.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't want to. Genuinely, I mean, I've been incredibly well behaved, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But there were a few things where, I mean, just like some just soft things that were quite funny. But it was one of them where. So I've been with my wife for like we've been together since almost as long as when I joined Kiss, right? So I was always the one that was working, and I was going out. I was, hooked up, so I wasn't looking for anything else. I was literally just going to work, gonna have a good time at the party. But then obviously I had some really good friends that were in different situations, so they would come along. And I got booked to do a Sunday night at Liquid in Windsor. And so the guys came along, and I think there must have just been an incredible ratio of females to males. And in the car on the way home afterwards, like they were like, don't tell anyone about Windsor on a Sunday. Like, we can't have people spoiling this for us. They were like, certain places, they were like, this is a secret. This is the secret run. There was one where my friend Patrick, we were doing a gig. I think it's my first gig up in Glasgow. And he came up with the idea. We didn't fully go through with it. But he said, why don't I be DJ Swerve? Like Patrick, who is a 6'3" black guy. He said, I'm going to be DJ Swerve, right? Because if they don't know who you are, and then he's going to be taken ill, and then you're going to go on the turntables. He wanted to try that. I mean, I was just like, come on. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like traveling, I've been to some amazing places. I remember doing like Taiwan was amazing. Although I tried to get on the plane, but my passport was close to expiring, so I missed the gig because it was like less than 3 months left on my passport, and the travel agent hadn't spotted it. And oh man, my dad, God rest his soul, helped me get out there. The only way to get out there was like on a first class flight or a business class flight. And yeah, he knew how important that was, and I mean, goodness knows how he did it, but Dad was doing dad things. He bought my turntables and got me over to Taiwan. He was like, you can't miss that. And I just remember that was just hell, right? Because so he's dropped me down to the airport. I've been bumped. I've had to phone them back. He's picked me up. Can't work out what to do. Had to phone up the passport office in the morning. Had to go to Newport to get an appointment first thing in the morning. I remember staying in like a travel lodge in Newport just to get up at 9 o'clock for the first appointment, got a passport, then drove back to Heathrow to get on, must be the next day or the day after's flight, and then get over there and do some shows over there, and then nearly getting rinsed on the way back with how heavy the bags were.
Oh God.
I think I got it reduced, but I was only taking 2 bags. It wasn't even like massive crates, but it was like 210 quid for overweight baggage. And it was just like, that wasn't the one. But yeah, I mean, it was tour DJ with Mystique. That was just incredible. Doing Top of the Pops, I mean, they were doing stuff with a live band, and then wherever they could, I would be there with them. I've got recordings. I need to start like literally ripping them and putting them up. But yeah, multiple Top of the Pops.
I'd like to think that you'd stopped scratching over the vocals by that point.
Oh, trust me. Because I met Howard Francis, who is an amazing musical director, but he also does The Big Sing, which is a really big community-based to get people into singing. And like, well, yeah, my friend Neil that I spoke about, his mother Rosemary is a part of The Big Sing. So it's funny how things just get interconnected. So I met him, and then working with the live band, knowing where the pockets were, knowing where I could scratch. I remember there was one time we were about to do a tour, and then there was a bit where everybody did their sort of solo, as was sort of tradition. But they had some polyrhythmic Brazilian flavored beat that I was supposed to scratch over, and it was fast. And I only had, they were like, yeah, can you go over this, Swerve? And I'm going to need to work out what the hell I'm doing with it, because I couldn't hear a pocket for the life of me. And I remember the first time doing it in rehearsals, and like kind of Howard looking at me like, really? I was like, look, dude, like, this is what I've got at the moment. I managed to get it right. But this, honestly, the rhythm that they were doing was just out, because these are all like gospel musicians. And a lot of them were, and they are just top of the game when it comes to performing. I mean, you know, talking about improvisation, it's just like, jeez.
Yeah, some of these live bands are incredible. I saw, oh, God knows, it might have been some like Channel 44 at the beach or something like that. And Blue were playing, and they did Flyby. But it had this really slick sort of R&B backing band on it. It sounded amazing.
They may have been members in there.
Yeah.
Because I know Donovan regularly is a drummer. So he used to have like cornrows, and I would always look at the drummer, and I'd be like, yep, there's Donovan. I'd be like, yep, there's Howard. Yeah, I could spot. There was like Femi.
Yeah, like I really want to find this version of Flyby. Like it's awesome, but like I've tried on YouTube and stuff, and it's because they just use all the different sort of chord patterns. It's a lot more like Isley style.
Yeah, man. Honestly, Howard is on the keys a lot, and I've worked with him. We've done some remixes and stuff together, and honestly, it's just inspirational. Honestly. Something else.
Yeah.
Absolutely something else. We did Mystique. We did a couple of dates in Japan, which was just incredible. Had the craziest after party in one of the nightclubs in Japan, where the record label in Japan were paying, and drank them out of regular champagne. And then we had to go on to, I think they had blackcurrant flavored champagne.
Wow.
It was one of those, and fair play, like the girls took us out, we were with them, and my main role was to kind of make sure that nobody got kind of too close when everyone was dancing,
right?
Because you can imagine guys were trying to come up and dance with, so my job was to politely intercept. And
so you were security?
Nah, just very running interference.
Right.
They would have had security, but yeah, it was we'd never have got to that stage. But it was just like, let's just avoid any whining, any uninvited, like carnival type whining.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was more than happy to provide that service. But I mean, it was great, honestly. And then going around the UK, doing the UK tour, I do remember that one of the first dates, or one of the first shows they did, was at Shepherd's Bush Empire, and then my job was to, obviously, I'd go out first, and I would actually even introduce, I think I even introduced like them as well, and I introduced Jamelia. I would start doing the introductions. I just remember sticking my head around the curtain, and I was like, I have never seen that many people like on a stage. I was like, wow, this is serious.
Yeah, another level.
Because the lights are up. Yeah, it was just so dope. I think the most nerve-wracking one though was there was one at Scala, which was an industry party at Scala, and that was the first Mystique with live band, and I cut up Let's Get Ill, Crooklyn Clan. That was my thing, and it was just me cutting that up. So that was before Serato, so needle jumping could have been real, but fortunately it didn't, and it was all right. I've got that. I may have that somewhere. So that was a really, that I was still doing radio at the time, but that would have been about 2003, 2004. But that was fantastic.
That was going to be my next question. How did you manage like the Mystique as well as doing the radio?
It was all right. I mean, there wasn't that. I wasn't doing the 4 nights a week. I was still doing 1 night a week.
Right.
So it was fine to work around. There were R&B and hip hop shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I think I was Tuesday. Firing Squad were Monday. I was Tuesday. I think Shorty and Big Ted would have been Wednesday. Can't remember Thursday. Could have been Scully. Scully was on for a bit.
DMC Scully.
MK, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was how that worked out. Before, I think it was like 2009. Andy wanted to make the output consistent Monday through to Thursday. So that was when he said he wanted me to do it, which was like, that was massive.
It's a big jump in responsibilities, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember him saying, he says, "Oh, I want you to be my guy for this." I was like, okay, yeah.
So how long were you doing the 4 nights then?
That was about 3 years. And then, I mean, to be absolutely honest, I was plummeting towards burnout.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that.
Because I was doing that. I was doing the shows. I was doing a chart show for Kiss TV, which I was voicing. I was doing a lot, and I was incorrectly using my paid time off from the Kiss shows to go, oh, I can do more gigs rather than taking holidays, and it was absolutely unsustainable. I remember coming back from a holiday with my wife in LA might even have been straight back to doing a gig the next night. And then the day after that, doing part of a Kiss sponsored thing with maybe a Jason Statham film that I ended up doing like some, one of those mud things, where you're out doing all of these physical activity out in the mud.
Oh, that Tough Mudder.
Yeah. And I actually had to stop. Because I think my body was just like, what are you doing, mate?
Yeah.
What are you doing, mate? And so it was a real blow at the time when, again, Andy phoned and said, look, we're going to change up things. AJ King was brought in. I think AJ was going to do it. But what was happening during the process of that year, where I was doing 100% programming myself of like everything, gradually I was having free picks rather than me being able to program the whole show myself. So that the nature of the show was changing. So like the writing was sort of on the wall as far as that show as it was kind of going.
Yeah.
So, and then the contracts came up at the end of the year and they were going to go in a different direction. And, Andy was like, look, let's just have a chat about what you can do next. And, true to his word, I had about a month or 2 off, and then we came up with a mix show. I then started doing Kiss Jams on a Sunday, which I think was really good. And then, then the Specialist got moved to Kiss Fresh, if we're going to fast forward through everything. Specialist got moved to Kiss Fresh, and then Andy left. And then there was another rejig. And I was at a point where I was playing music that could only be 12 months old, which wasn't really playing to my strengths.
Mm.
I knew what I wanted to do. If I was going to do something, it was probably going to be like a throwback. So this would have been fairly recently. So this would be like 2020. So I would have been like, look, I think a good offer would be a throwback R&B hip hop show, 90s R&B, early 2000s R&B and hip hop. I think would be great. wasn't something that was particularly wasn't being delivered anywhere, but it just wasn't the flavor that was wanted. So it's like, okay, cool, it's time to go and find something else. I don't think it would have been, I wouldn't have wanted to have been playing sort of that R&B dance hybrid stuff that came in, which was kind of ushering out a little bit of, that was maybe some of the reason why they wanted the show to change, because this sound of R&B and house was coming together, you know, like the will.i.ams and all those kind of things. That was a very popular style, which I wouldn't be picking for the show that I was playing. I don't know, that's just how it goes. It's like, with that, it's like swings and roundabouts. And having stepped away for a few months, I certainly don't regret any of that. It's got me on this Love Thing London. Ironically, like I say, going back to soul, funk, boogie and disco, really going back to the roots before, the first musical love of hip hop. Like, my love is still primarily rhythm driven. So it's the drum is still first as far as that goes for me. So if I'm hearing something, it's got to have fat drums.
Yeah.
Well, we've taken that's probably 10 years in like 4 sentences or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's not often a really sort of linear timeline. That there'll be bits that you get loads of focus on and bits that you don't.
Yeah.
So was it kind of weird that first sort of week or two of being like, oh, I'm not on the air anymore?
Yeah, it really was. It really was. It provided a permanent structure pretty much for 20 years of this needs to be delivered at this time before this. But what was happening was, and this is before lockdown as well, was the shows weren't live anymore. So I was set up at home and I could do them at home, which was fine. And I did miss going in, vibing with your producer, and then, going in, sometimes you would just be going in to record the links, not to do the show. The show had been prepped, which was, it was great. I mean, because time, resources and stuff. But, that's not the same. That's not the same as going in, doing the show live, interaction, just the energy.
Yeah.
The energy is different, but it's different. It's different times. It's not 2000 anymore. I don't want to be that guy. Have you ever seen the film Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah. yeah. Rico.
I don't want to be that quarterback guy. I'm not going to be Uncle Rico. Just going out there and with my video camera, just filming sets as if it's just not like that. It's not like that. Things change, things are, commercial radio stations are business. It's just how it is. And I'm incredibly blessed to have been a DJ on radio for me during like peak times for so many reasons. And it's not just, it's technological reasons as well. I was thinking about this, like we were gatekeepers because the music was on physical, it was a physical medium. So if you didn't have that record, you couldn't play it. You couldn't download it. You couldn't even burn it to CD. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
You had to have the record. And in order to get that record, you needed to either be working in a record label, have a hookup with a record label, or you would be sent those records because you were on radio. And then it's almost like a vicious cycle, because then you've got the records, you play the records, you get more of the records, and it's like, and people were wanting to hear those records when you were out.
So when you were doing a lot of R&B, would you still get hip hop promos, or would you only get R&B?
Yeah, I mean, I was never. I was more on the R&B side, but I was always play hip hop. I never didn't play hip hop. There was certain hip hop I wouldn't play. Like I wouldn't go into as deep of it. I wouldn't go into it as deeply as a hip hop show. But again, I suppose in a way that the DJs that I used to listen to, like I said, with Jazzy, when Jazzy was doing his show, I would sit up and really take note to the reggae that he was playing. So in a way, you know, the hip hop that I was playing, they would have been the big hip hop, probably more on the jiggy side.
Yeah.
But those are the ones. Those are the ones that I'd play. In a lot of ways, I think my show was like pretty much like 50-50, really. It was never enough. It was never, but when I was doing, maybe when I was doing the 4 nights a week, but particularly when I was doing the Tuesday, when I started the Monday was actually hip hop pretty much.
Right.
And then when I started doing the Tuesday, it was like a mixture of hip hop and R&B. But yeah, I was definitely more on the R&B side.
Were you getting like an insane amount of promos?
Yeah, I mean, I would get a lot. The lockers would get, you'd have lockers at the station and they would get rammed.
Because I've talked a little bit with people about that world of being on mailing lists. I only really started DJing as vinyl was going out, and I never got kind of residency.
Yeah.
So I was never. I remember applying to them and going, "Oh, here's some flyers or whatever."
Yeah.
But it was never that sort of thing. So I'm always a little bit jealous of people that got free records.
Yeah. I mean, I used to go down and swap them out down in Beano's in Croydon. So there'd be stuff that I just absolutely didn't want, and I would just swap for stuff that I wanted, whether it was like old school hip hop records.
Nice.
Because there were people that would want those. You know, what's going to happen to them? They're just going to sit there. You can't throw, you know, I wouldn't want to throw them all out, chuck them all in the bin. So we'll swap them and put them back into the record ecosystem.
Yeah. Nice. So just coming on to what's now then. So after you stepped away, what's been the journey in setting up Love Thing London, and could you kind of explain a bit about it?
Yeah, I really wanted to connect back with music again. I was a bit hamstrung in the later times, just because I was only really allowed to focus on new music. And there was great new music. I did this thing called Kiss Jam Sessions, where remotely I would DJ breaks, and I was invited in soul singers to sing freestyle over the top of the beat that I'd done. So there were artists that I'm really, really into, but it was just quite a challenge for 2 hours every week to find 2 hours of new music that was really, really good.
Yeah.
All the time. And then having to go through just an absolute ton of stuff that was either mid or worse than mid. It just became really, like, searching for music became very laborious and a bit stressful, actually, because I'm like, how am I going to find, oh God, this week's show, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So stepping away from that, I was trying to find what was going to get me excited again. And it kind of reconnecting with vinyl, because a lot of the stuff that I'm into, like now, some of them aren't available on the streaming platform. Yeah. So you've got to go and you've got to start digging again and learning. So if I'm going to do an 80s soul, funk and boogie set, I want it to be authentic. I wasn't out there at the time, so I'll be listening to mixes that DJs have done, like Larry Levan. I was doing a vinyl set actually at Nobu. I do a couple of nights a month there, this Japanese restaurant upstairs. And there was one Friday where Huey came through from Fun Loving Criminals, but obviously Soul DJ head. He was there early. And then Common rolled through. And then Pete Tong came through with like his family.
Oh, wow.
Like all like in the same night. And like it was really nice because all of them, like Common was like, oh, you're killing it. Like Huey came through, dapped me up. And Pete Tong at the end, I just wanted to sort of say hello to him. We started chatting. He said, all the stuff you were playing tonight, he said, was stuff that I used to play. Because obviously before Pete had the Ibiza Epiphany, it's a soul, funk and boogie. So I was like, right, I'm on the right track with my selections. They need to be like correct. So I'm on that like literal learning journey. And I was wanting to do something. And I think Well, I made my mind up that I wanted to do soul, funk, boogie and disco for some reason. Before Love Thing London, I was like, look, I just need something that's going to be a bit different because I've done like hip hop and R&B for so long.
Yeah.
It's time to change it a bit. Just freshen it up. I still love doing it. I still do it, but I'm not doing that all the time. And I think that's just what makes the difference. So I was actually doing a bar. There's a bar called Clay's, which when I was getting back into it, things had opened up. There was Jules from Loose Cannons, who used to be like on Kiss. They were a big, I would say, electro dance act. So I knew them. So from when I started in the 2000s, but I bumped into him randomly on the street. And I guess I was a little bit lost. I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. He said, look, bro, you'll be perfect for this. So it's a chain. This is really random. There's a chain of virtual clay pigeon shooting bars. So they do these. So that it's very, like, the drinks are amazing. The bar food is really, really good, right? And they have these, they call them pegs, but basically they're these small rooms. So for the old school heads, it's like Duck Hunt, basically, on the Sega or whatever. But you've got decommissioned proper shotguns. So this is all going on. And then your job as a DJ is just to play like music for them to vibe to after they finished and while they're still sort of playing. So I said to him, look, I really want to start playing soul, funk, boogie and disco. Can I play soul funk, just play soul, funk, boogie and disco? And he was like, sure. So that was kind of how it started. And I was looking for a tune. I couldn't find it on my stick because I was doing off USB. So I did it by alphabetical order, by title. And Love Thing came up 3 times in a row. So there was It's a Love Thing, first choice. There was Intro Love Thing. And there was It's a Love Thing, Whispers. They all came up. And it just stuck. I was like, Love Thing. I was like, oh, I like that. So then while I was sort of playing, my mind was like started working on that. And DJ Stylus he'd started a brand called Compound up in Manchester, and it's elite level, like events, everything. I've known him for a while, and I started having a chat with him because he got it trademarked. And I thought Love Thing London, I thought LDN kind of makes it international. You know, I'm proud of London with its musical heritage, its fashion, its culture. It's very much mixed. Everything from, you know, your sexual alignment, your race, your background. It's very creative. And I just think this is what I want the brand to kind of all be about. It's for everyone. And I wanted it to be about soul. I feel people needed, particularly now, people need uplifting soul music, like gospel music, everything. You just need that lift. So I wanted a brand that would like reflect that as well. And you can see from the logo. So you've got like the smiley face, which is like the rave. You've got the Daisy Age, Dayla. You've got kind of a lot of signifiers that people, when they see the logo, you can kind of get what it's about. You kind of get that it's about sort of love in a way. Yeah. Flower power, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I wanted to start a podcast. I thought, you know what, rather than doing radio, why don't we start doing a podcast? And Joel, I've known for many years. I met him at Bump. There was a legendary night in Brixton run by Marnie, and Cyan Anderson got me in there. So love to Cyan. And it was just an incredible Friday night that kind of rivaled in terms of, like I say, on a smaller scale, just in terms of numbers, how the smooth nights at Ministry on a Friday night were. It was absolutely popping, like absolutely popping. It was such an exciting night. And I met Joel there, and then Joel went to do the bookings for Visions, which was an equally legendary spot in East London. And I just thought Joel is very kind of cool and reserved, and it works well in that I can be quite chatty and loud, and then he doesn't say much, but he says a lot. He conveys a lot in what he says.
Yeah.
I'd probably use like 20 words and he could nail it in 5.
That's kind of like with sports commentary, isn't it? You got your play-by-play and then your hype man. I suppose you got your play-by-play as your hype, and then you've got your kind of bring it down guy.
Yeah, I just really enjoy doing the podcast with him. We've got different tastes. He's younger than me, he's 10 years younger than me, over 10 years younger than me. And he's got a different speciality. And I think it works in I think it's an enjoyable listen. We don't fight to get over each other. It's not an ego thing. And it works. I'm definitely looking at growing that. We've done DJ sets together, which work really well. But as you know, like with the brand, it's about getting eyes and ears on it.
Yeah.
Probably going to look at getting other people involved. I think, with the marketing and there's just so much.
Yeah.
And it's about getting visual again. I need to get more visual with my stuff. At home, I really want to start pushing the vinyl only. When I do the Nobu set, it's vinyl only. So we're going real back to the origins. And what makes it harder is when I started and when you started DJing, even though we were DJing vinyl, it was, it was sequenced by machines, right? So these mixes that we're doing now, these are live drummers. And so some of those can get pretty wild. So you are not doing 16 bar blends unless you know that these drummers are like metronomically accurate. Otherwise you are in a world of pain.
Yeah. It's like when you're mixing things where just like the first bar and a half just drifts wildly and then they get into it. Even when you're multi-tracking a mix, you'll try and ride the pitch to make it work.
Yeah, some of them, it's like you're trying to get on a wild stallion and it is just not happening.
Yeah, but this is like the magic with vinyl as well, isn't it? 'Cause it's nice having that limitation, because if you were using that in Serato or some of the systems, you can have a beat grid and you can sing, you can kind of quantize it and stuff. And
you'd be staring at it, you'd be looking at the screen.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the first thing I told myself when I got on Serato. So I was at the 1921 Club in Croydon and I was DJing vinyl before Jazzy Jeff. And I thought, right, the last thing you want to do is try and play loads of big tunes that Jazzy Jeff would want to play. So I just thought, I'm going to finish off with just some party reggae stuff, which would be fine. It would get them hyped up, but it's not going to be treading on anyone's toes. And then he rocks up and he's using his laptop. And I'd heard about Serato and I just saw what he did with it. I mean, the first thing that was outrageous was he played like 8 minutes of Brazilian flavors. And I was just like, mate, how the hell are you getting away with this? But then you realize that it is Jazzy Jeff. He can do what he wants. And his taste is immaculate. And people will respect this taste.
Yeah.
And we are going on a journey because I'm like, I'm not planning on starting 8 minutes with Brazilian music with it. But then he just shreds it on Serato with, and I'm like, what? Okay. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, I need to be on that. Like, I need to be on that.
I think he was like an early adopter because, he was
the first.
He was like
and he went touring with it.
Yeah, because it was in 1988 when he won the New Music Seminar, 88, something like that. It was a long time ago, and he was early on Serato, and he's just kind of kept up and kept fresh, and it's so tight,
mate. He did so many early sales. He made so many early sales of Serato, and he wasn't even sponsored. It was just incredible. Once I saw that, you can do that with it, can you? And it's like, right, okay.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing now.
And where can people listen to the podcast? It's Spotify exclusive, right?
Yeah, it's on Spotify. So just look for @LoveThingLDN. You'll see it. You'll see the purple daisy. If you see a smiling daisy looking back at you, And you can find us on Instagram as well. I am going to be more active on the Instagram. Putting up I think it's just put up some records, just some little clips of records that I'm feeling and Joel's feeling. We'll get on that. I just find the socials I find so challenging. Just, I don't know. I But days will go by and I just haven't taken a photograph or posted it. And I'm like, because I'm not really like that.
Yeah. I've become really, really kind of despondent at the moment around DJing and what it is, because I've had a few conversations really about two limiting factors, and I think we're opening a bit of a Pandora's box here. But so one of the limiting factors is there's probably more people DJing than going out to see DJs or dance in certain places, because the barrier to entry to start DJing is so low.
Yes.
And also, people will give more of a shit now about a 2-minute Instagram reel of a break to the beat than a 45-minute mixtape that you've put your life and soul into, I think, as consumers, you know, and that's the bit where it's like
100% of all of that. Yeah. But then you've got to react to that. So do your own spin on it's the blends. The blends at the moment is the big thing. But you know what? That fits people's attention spans and stuff. It's really, really short. So go out and do some of that. Have some fun doing that.
Yeah. Have you, as a last parting sort of question then, or I guess it's a two-parter. For one thing, what do you think the future of radio is as something for people to want to do as a career? Because I know, like with the BBC, they've started syndicating all their local stuff. So immediately there's a load of job cuts and a load less demand there. Do you see it as being something that's worth people moving into as a career as DJs? And for the other thing, have you got any advice for anyone wanting to get into that about kind of how to approach DJing as a radio DJ versus like a club DJ, what they need to think about if they're going to want to move to that?
Yeah. It's an interesting one. There are two types of people that are on radio, right? You've got presenters and you've got specialist DJs. I think when I started, clearly there was a life change. Being on radio was life changing, and I could afford to make that full time. I think now the way the DJ market is, it's a lot more about residencies and regular work as it is about those high paying one-offs. When I started, it was very much, I'd have one or two monthly regulars, but a lot of it was you would do this club this month because they were wanting, because there were maybe about 10 of us in this kind of operating at that sort of level. Now, you know, I'm quite happy actually, because I was looking at my January. In my January, I've got 3 regular places that I do 2 sets at. So I've got 6 most months. And then I will pick up guest sets and one-offs on top of that, which I never would have used to have done. But it means that I'm DJing longer, because these are the regular residencies are longer sets. But actually having got over the culture shock of that, where it used to be rock up, hour, 90 minutes, there you go, thank you very much, I'm out. It's different. Certainly there's a role for radio. My thoughts are, radio should never try and compete with streaming services, because it's not going to win. I think having a personality, having great taste, and being that well-needed filter of the music that's coming out, I think is underrated greatly. And if you've got DJs that are passionate and very knowledgeable and can present this in a way, there'll always be a room for that. But I don't think radio necessarily is going to be on its own going to be paying you enough for you to, not that it even particularly was then either, but the fact that you're on radio, I don't think is going to mean that you're going to be booked up and down the country as it was when I was fortunate enough to be doing it. But yeah, I think the main thing with radio is I think there's that community. I think you need to be authentic and have a sense of community about listening to it, so the listeners feel that you're kind of together and there's a group of you. because like obviously that there's a lot of people, a lot of isolation, people not necessarily going out as much as they used to. So this is kind of what I wanted to try and do with Lofting London and the events. It's just about bringing people together. So it's not all doom and gloom for radio. I mean, you've got tremendous stations. You've got My Soul that are selling out venues. You know, they did their Christmas party in the Coco. That's a huge venue. They've sold that out. You've got Soho Radio, which is a very unique offering. It has a really great, diverse series of DJs and musical offerings there. And I think with a lot of shows, it's not so much about live anymore. It's about giving them, or giving the listener or your potential listener, a reason to listen in. It's not just a case of rocking up, here are the biggest hip hop and R&B tunes out right now, which is what our job was back then, because we were the gatekeepers. You're more of a the DJs now are more of a filter. And that is a necessary job, because it can be incredibly overwhelming with the amount of music that's out there. It's like, geez, haven't got time. So you've got to give people a good reason to tune in. So it's like, right, actually, okay, cool, this is going to be a good listen. Like we like to think with your podcast, you like to think, okay, we're going to talk about DJing and stuff. So this is the person we're going to have in. Radio needs to be the same. What are you going to do? It is about those special shows. Are you going to do a Neptune special? Are you going to do a Jay-Z special? Is it a Geographic special or whatever? And then how you present that. How do you present that? So it's got to look good. The teasers have got to be good. There's so much work involved.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, I think that's just how it is. It's just different. I mean, when you're not going to be able to compete streaming, because that's what streaming's there for. But there's lots of stuff that streaming can't do. Streaming won't talk to you.
Well,
it's not going to give you a background. Well, it's not going to, you know what I mean, though? It's not going to be strictly conversational, is it, really?
No. And like you say, it's the togetherness of listening, I guess, with radio, isn't it? Like on your streaming, it's about just that entirely isolated solo consumption.
It's like if you're talking about streaming as being, which is what I was referring it to as, just that continuous playlist. You can have an infinite playlist and just no stop. But I think if you have a personality and someone that's in there that's knowledgeable, passionate, and has an inclusive vibe about them, you know, it'd always be like, you know, welcome along, thanks for joining us, so-and-so saying this, you know, that kind of thing. I think this is, we kind of got that when I was doing the show. I used to enjoy doing that. I mean, having guests and stuff in. But yeah, there's ways of approaching it. It's different. It is just different, and it's how you approach that different environment. Yeah, because it's all progression. I mean, yeah,
that's it.
Just don't be Uncle Rico.
Right. On that note, mate, where can people find you on socials then?
So at DJ_Swerve on Instagram, which might be the more interesting one of all of them. There is a bit of TikTok action going on there. Well, hopefully, if I get myself together, I've just got to tidy my studio up. That's the thing. It's a mess at the moment, and it is not going to give you that warm glow that is necessary for TikTok likes.
Yeah.
So I need to, honestly, and then obviously records are coming in as well as going out. But yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done. But yeah, that's the goal. The goal will be some more Lofting London, maybe radio. Radio would be good. It's got to be the right thing. But yeah, I'm definitely back in that headspace now.
Nice.
Of just doing something that I think would be fun. It's tremendous fun working with Joel. I've got to say, I'm very fortunate that I'm working with someone that is that kind of vibe, because to have the chemistry, because that doesn't necessarily it doesn't happen very, very often like that.
Yeah. And I think maybe if you've had that time to like step away from it, reassess where you are, you can kind of come in re-energized, reinvigorated with a bit more focus.
Yeah, and I think myself and Joel would definitely offer something different. and interesting, which is what we're trying to do with the Spotify's at the moment.
Awesome. And what's the Love Thing London website?
So that is, actually, where we can buy merch, like this tremendous mug. So it is lovething.london. So lovething.london, spelled correctly.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, thanks a lot for your time today. It's really good to get that sort of insight.
Thank you. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I hope I've covered some of your questions.
Yeah, it's been really good, mate. Thanks very much for that.
Yeah, no worries, mate. All right, all the best.
Take care.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
All right, bye. You too. All right, bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Once a DJ. If you'd like to support the show, then head to onceadj.com/support to find out how you can help. If you'd like to get in touch with any feedback or suggestions, email onceadjpodcast@gmail.com. Once a DJ is produced by the good people at Remote Control. If you'd like to find out more about working with them, head to remote-ctrl.co.uk.
That was nice.